Hi, and welcome to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, and of course, finally, we are back together again. My amazing co-host, Judy Loge.
Hi, Vero. Yeah, it's been a while since you and I have been on set.
I know.
Welcome, everybody.
I know, it was pretty exciting there. We were, so we did start back to the show 2 Mondays ago. You were otherwise occupied, and then I was otherwise occupied, so we had some amazing guest co-hosts.
Yes, we did.
Join each of us. But now we're back together.
And I like that, and it gets me motivated for that Monday because let's just face it, you don't always wake up in the let's go mood. And if it's a little bit dark and dreary like it is today, you have to kind of bring yourself up to life a little bit. So here we are.
I know, yeah. And especially it's funny because it's only a little bit of drizzle out today, but I'm finding like it was a little bit harder to get moving. It's supposed to be beautiful the rest of the week here in Miramichi. I hope it is across the province as well. Good. But right here in Miramichi, it's supposed to be a gorgeous, 21, 23 degrees for the rest of the week.
Beautiful.
So yeah, looking forward to that. But anyway, let's kick off today's show with your quote.
Yes, as people know, we always start off our show with a quote. We just decided that years ago it would be kind of fun to run the show that way from the beginning. So, be decisive. Right or wrong, make a decision. The road of life is paved with flat squirrels who couldn't make a decision.
It's true, though.
It's saucy, but it's true.
I know.
It's like do or die because seriously, sometimes it's a matter of that life-making decision.
Yeah,
changing.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's really hard and you don't have all the information that you think you need, right? But I am typically one of those that will make a decision.
A rash decision?
No.
Okay, let's just say a spontaneous decision.
I can if pressed. But I like to, I'm not one of these that has to deliberate for days on end to make a decision, especially if it's not something really critical or crucial. On council, I try and gather as much information as I can. And oftentimes our decisions, you have to make a vote that night. And so you ask as many questions as you can or your colleagues do. And then I am pretty comfortable making a decision with the information I have, right? And I'm pretty comfortable being okay with that decision because, everybody does the best that they can, but I am one that is comfortable with making a decision.
Mm-hmm. So sticking to it.
Yeah, and sticking to it. Now, having said that, if I get different information or more information after I've made a decision, I'm okay with admitting I'm wrong. Absolutely. And making a different decision if needed. But I have no problems standing and taking a stand on something and moving ahead with that, right? Because I have to do it every day at work, all day long. I manage a team that's spread across the country, and so I have to be able to do that. And the same with council. There's always a learning curve, right? And you kind of do the best you can. And then in my regular life, I'm responsible. I'm primary caregiver for I can't even talk today. See, that happens.
Doing good.
It happens with the tongue every now and again.
Well.
But I'm primary caregiver for my mother, right? So there's a lot of decisions that I have had to make with her that have not been easy, nor would they be what I would want to do. But oftentimes what I want and what's best for her are two different things.
Absolutely. And on a more trivial, lighter side, when we're talking about decision making and being indecisive, I will say that there could be, just say we're going to buy a family car. There could be 100 cars there. I'll walk around and look at every one of those 100 cars.
Yeah.
That's the one. Instant.
Yep.
Put me in the chip aisle at Sobeys. I'm there for half an hour.
Yes.
Or if I'm trying to find the right card, because that's something that means something to me. A card I really ponder over because if it's for my mother, who, by the way, just celebrated her birthday. Happy belated Mom. We love you. We celebrated her. She's salt of the earth.
Very
wonderful.
Happy birthday to her.
We did have a grand day with her, and she's very special. Love you. But that being said, if I'm picking out a card for my mother for her birthday, I'm not just going to walk into an aisle that has cards and look at a couple and grab one. I am there for the longest time, and if I don't like the selection, I will go to another store and make it till I get the right card. But I could buy a car faster than a card.
Well, and it's funny because I understand that myself because I am an instant gratification kind of girl. So, like, if I see something, and I'm lucky, I'm a single woman, so I have to consider my own bills, and I'm the sole support of my household, right?
Yep.
But I also can make my own decisions, right? So if I see something and I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to buy that today. I can make that decision in an instant.
Good.
I'm not one of these that has to research for days on different types or whatever. I just like, yeah, I like those shoes, I'm going to get them.
Good.
But I am much the same. If I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them like, what do I want for a snack? It could take me an hour to figure out what I want.
Well, look at these earrings, for example.
Yes. Oh,
Okay,
I love
I
them.
got them when I was in Spain.
Yeah.
My husband was with me. They are the new style for anyone who thinks I don't know how to put earrings together. They are a mismatch set. So one's shorter
Yes.
with the pearl on the end, and the other one is the long dangling one with the same upper part.
Okay.
So my husband, being my husband, said, "You're not going to buy those, are you? People will think that you forgot to put your earrings on because you didn't know how to put them on and
Yes.
you didn't match them up." I said, "That's the look."
Yeah.
So he's not going to change my mind on something. If I
No.
want, I'm going to do it. So
Yeah.
that being said, I make up my mind pretty easy as to what I like and don't like.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but and yeah, funny enough, when it comes to the smaller things that really aren't consequential,
Life-changing.
consequential, you know,
Yeah.
it does take me longer because I'm like, what do I feel like, you know?
Just like Nike says, just do it.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, but the big stuff, as long, you know, as long as I feel like I've gotten as much information as I can get, then I'm comfortable in making a
Nice,
decision.
good.
Yeah. So we haven't been together for a while, which is
Nice to see you, Veronique,
I know.
after months.
I know, and it's funny because, you know, I mean, you and I talk every day, right? By text, by phone, by WhatsApp, you know, by messenger, and sometimes we're on the phone and we're texting and we've got the messenger going. But we had realized as we were out on the weekend for the first time that we hadn't seen each other
No, I missed you.
in a while.
I did miss you.
Like probably about 5 or 6 weeks.
I know. Commuting through Messenger or whatever it means besides one-on-one to me is missing. Like
Yeah.
I like to see people and
Yeah.
hug them and have that eye contact, and
Yeah.
I missed you.
Well, and I missed you too. And like there was so much going on this summer. You had a beautiful trip. You and Gerard had an amazing trip this summer.
Yes, we did. We really certainly
Yeah.
did. And just what I think about when it comes to Gerard and I traveling is that we don't know anybody.
Yes.
And well, my sister, we visited her obviously, but otherwise it's nice to go where you don't know anybody
Yep.
and you can do your thing and sit at a table and have a dinner and a glass of wine and not have everybody come over to your table and say, "How have you been?" And Dr. Loja, "I'm feeling better." And Judy,
Yeah.
I see that you're selling tickets too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
sometimes you need the escape.
Yeah.
Of course, you're there to have good food and good fun
Yeah.
and sightsee, but it's also getting away from the everyday contact of
Yeah.
people that need a little piece of you in some way.
Well, and it's funny. I think most people don't realize, right? And I realized it really when I first moved home in 2006. You and I and Gerard and Mom and a few others were out for supper, and someone had stopped by the table, and I know in their mind it was done like it's just a moment. It's just a moment, but with Gerard having so many patients and you knowing everybody in town, I remember the person said to him, "See, my ear is leaking. Is there anything that you could prescribe that would fix it?" Right? and there's Gerard trying to have supper.
I know.
And that was again, I know that person wasn't done out of malice and really not thinking. They thought, oh, it's just a moment. He'll take a look at it and I'll be fine. I won't have to go into the office. But it happens so often that I understand, and I understood right from that moment how getting away, especially for you two, is so critical.
It
Because
is.
being able to, as much as you love knowing everybody in town, and I know that you do because I do too.
Well, not everybody.
But yeah.
There's let me think. Let me do it on one hand.
Most. But,
it's not you watching.
As much as I know that you love,
People.
having that recognition and people, sometimes it's nice to be able to go out for supper
Yeah.
and not have the, 15 people stop by the table and say, "Can you just look at my ear for a
That
second?"
is so. So that was a big component
Yeah.
of the trip, was escaping, having one another's time,
Yeah.
and each other to ourselves was so lovely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, as always, it was a very busy weekend here.
Yeah. Remember, she's not lacking in entertainment or things to do,
No.
just even on a quiet, you can do something small. It doesn't have to be a great big event you're attending, but there's always something, a walk or something happening you can take part in.
Absolutely, and I think what I love about being here, especially, and I mean in New Brunswick in general, because you see it, when you go from city to city to community, is there's always something unique and different and something for everybody, right? And so it may not be your thing this weekend, but there's a weekend that it is your thing. So over the weekend, there was a few things that happened, and I didn't make it to all of them, but I did manage to get to a couple. So Friday night was the Take Back the Night March.
Very important.
And you know, the emergency women's shelter here in Miramichi, and they've renamed, and I can't. Their new name is escaping me at the moment, so I really apologize for that. But we'll post it on the Facebook page. So it's for sexual assault survivors, and it's really to give voice to those who may not be able to have the voice themselves. And it was really it was great to see. There was a group that gathered in Elm Park and walked, escorted by Miramichi Police Force, which was wonderful, down to Waterford Green, and then there were some snacks and some treats down there. But really just to give voice.
Absolutely advocating and bringing awareness to it. And you know, as soon as I hear that word sexual assault, the first thing that comes to my mind, I mean, it happens to women every single hour of the day somewhere, unfortunately, is the physician that was overlooking the gymnasts, remember, at the Michigan State University?
Yes.
Larry Nassar.
Yes, that's
and
it.
he assaulted up to reportedly 300 young women.
Incredible.
He's in jail for life.
Absolutely.
But I think of those girls, and I think of how he did that to not just 1, 2, or 3. They say up to maybe 300 people.
Systemic,
And you know, it affects the whole family. He was a married man with 3 children at home. How would you feel? You feel assaulted and betrayed yourself because you have been living with a man, a monster basically, that does this to innocent people.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's really interesting now too is actually the center here now provides support services for men and women because there are men sexual assault survivors as well. And so really interesting to see that they have branched out, realizing that it can happen to anyone, quite literally. But yeah, so really great to see. There was, I don't know, probably about 30 people.
Okay, everything's going on at once though. They can't always get the crowd they desire.
Exactly, yeah. And so, Mom's mobility is not quite what it, she's always had a bit of an issue with mobility, but anyway, Mom is always game to go out with me. And so we put her in a wheelchair and she trucked down the road with me and we had a great time.
So that's good. You're keeping her active and getting outside, fresh air, engaged.
Exactly.
Can we just talk about the show you and I attended with Andrea and my friends and Michelle Tobin-Forgrave, who's been a co-host on here. Absolutely hilarious. She was my co-host last week, actually, when I hosted. The Hypnotic Show. The one and only Jason Cyrus, renowned hypnotist. Big name now. He's like Las Vegas status.
Well, I mean, and he does shows all across the country, and he's a keynote speaker, at corporate events, and does hypnotherapy in private practice. Like, I don't know where he finds the time, to be honest with you, to do all that he does. But he was here on the weekend, on Saturday night at James M. Hill Memorial High School Theater. I deep belly laughed.
Me too. If I look like I've gotten new wrinkles since from last Thursday to the show time, it was because Saturday night I went out. So I've grown a few wrinkles because I laugh and you crinkle but it was so good. And can I just give a shout out to Jason Cyrus, because he is one of the most amazing, positive people I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
You know how you see people that are upbeat and they're happy for the most part? He's outstandingly much so.
Yeah. And really, I find empowering to the people around him.
A beautiful soul.
Right? And it's for him, it's all about putting that positive energy out into the world and helping others to find it as well. And listen, I
genuine, like
very,
Veronique and Judy, and he looks right at you. He's so authentic.
Absolutely.
It's like, I missed you.
I know.
I love you guys, and I'm so glad you were here.
But you know what? The part I laughed out loud. There's a lot of parts, but one part that I keep laughing out loud about. And I mean, he is also lovely to look at.
Oh, very much.
He's a wonderful human, but he's also lovely to look at. And
his wife is too, though.
She's gorgeous, and so is his daughter, and lovely people as well. But one of the pieces, I don't want to give away his show, but one of the pieces is one of the hypnotic suggestions that he makes is that one person, when he turns around, thinks he's naked.
That was outstanding.
And she could not. Like, she laughed and she was embarrassed and she kept covering her eyes, but she kept giggling about it, and she giggled about it through the whole show. And it was the cutest thing I've seen in quite some time.
Laughter's so therapeutic. And then, of course, getting back to Michelle Tobin-Forgrave, she came with us, and about maybe 8 of us went all together, and she was one of those people that was tested, was a candidate. So up she went. Well, she was giving a speech on love and freedom and hello, I'm a motivational speaker and my name is Michelle Tobin-Forgrave, and she was so convincing. And then she went on and on about love and kindness and love your neighbor. I was just astounded by it, because it's so crazy that they can be that under, that they behave like that
Yep.
and dancing up a storm and belly dancing, and the men were
know,
belly
I
dancing.
know.
It was something else, and I recommend anytime he's in town that you should go. If you want to have a good show
Yes.
and have a great laugh and good company with your friends, get out.
I know. And when Michelle dropped into the splits,
Wow.
died.
We told him to loosen up.
I know, to stretch. And anyway, listen, we had an amazing time. The other thing that happened on Saturday during the day was the Autism Resources Miramichi Walk and Family Day. And a great turnout for that. The Timberwolves came.
Love that team.
Miramichi Police Force and Miramichi Fire Department helped support in the walk as well, and just amazing. And then there was also a charity softball tournament that included Public Works, Police, Fire, and another, I think, Wellness and Rec, but it's escaping right at the moment. And they're raising money for the Christmas families for the city. So
I'm proud of our city. I'm proud of the initiatives, and I'm really, like you said, never stuck for something to participate in. You just have to
No.
look at the schedules online or
know.
phone you. Everyone phone Veronique, find out what's going on.
I know what's happening. So you know what? Thanksgiving's coming.
Thanksgiving's coming up really soon.
Yeah.
And I don't do what I used to do because family now has spread out. My son
Yep.
works in Halifax. Whether he can come home or not, I don't know. Jansen will be probably.
Yep.
But as far as family being scattered as they grow older, it's not that same all-in kind of celebration where we have the house full of people.
Right, yeah.
You know, and my parents are older now, so I try, if they feel like coming up for dinner, that's beautiful. If
Yes.
not, I will take them down a meal, spend time with them. Over the years, Thanksgiving changes, but it's all about Thanksgiving. It's
I
about
know.
gratitude, and I feel that every day, Veronique, in some way or another.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do as well. And you know, October is a big month in our family for anniversaries and birthdays and Thanksgiving and things like that. So for me, it always kicks off that, you know, kind of that few weeks where we get to celebrate. And I cook a massive turkey, which is far too large for Mom and Dad and I, but then we have leftovers for a while. So I love Thanksgiving and the fall weather.
I know
in
you
general.
do. I know you do. You're a fall girl, and I'm a summer girl, but we didn't have summer, so I guess we'll have to get used to fall now.
So we have an amazing show coming up. We have two fantastic guests, actually first-time guests with us, so we're looking forward to it. So go grab something hot to drink, and we'll see you back in a couple of minutes. Looking forward to the rest of the show. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, joined, of course, by my incredible co-host, Judy Loge.
Welcome back, everybody.
I
We're happy
know.
to be here with you on a Monday.
It's Monday again, and we're excited. Now, we have an incredible segment lined up, and one of our first-time guests, and we love when that happens because we love to know all of the things that are going on out there. So we actually have, now, Judy and I both know her quite well, but Helena Way, who is a consultant and principal for the Canadian Schools of Niterói, Brazil. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'd like to be there right now in Brazil, actually. I mean, we're
Well,
here,
you can
but
come with me next
I
week.
would love to go. Next week you're leaving.
I think we both go with her and do a show from there.
I go
I've
Sunday.
known Helena for a while, but maybe some people don't.
I know. So, and that is always our first question. So I don't imagine that there'd be a lot of people out there that you haven't taught at some point, but for those people that might not know you, tell the audience a little bit about you.
Well, I was born and raised here in Miramichi, actually in the former city of Newcastle. I come from a large family, 8 siblings, 5 brothers, and there were 3 girls. My mom and dad were both from the area as well, Red Bank and Vogel area.
Yep.
Growing up, we were basically 8 children in 9 years that were born in a
my
span of
goodness.
9 years.
Your
So we're
mother.
stepping stones, very, very close family.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Parents and
incredible.
to have
Yes.
them that close.
Yeah, so my mom was a teacher. My dad had a small trucking company,
Okay.
hauling gravel and logs and snow and whatever, depending on the season and what the need was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All 3
so-
of our mothers were teachers.
that's right.
Oh, there.
Shout out
Yeah.
to all of
It-
the
it-
teachers.
The best way to be.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Well, and education was such an important component to
Yeah.
our lives as we grew up.
Yeah.
That was a big part of the conversation.
So on that note, talk to us about
Yes.
your early education and then how that led to your career path.
Sure. So I went to university at UNB. I actually started out to be a social worker.
Really?
And in my 3rd year, I switched over into education. I followed my mother's footsteps. I loved, even when I was a little girl, I used to be a teacher in the backyard with all of the kids and everything. So I did have a passion for it, but I also had a passion to help other people.
Yep.
And in my third year, I realized, well, you know, I can do both as a teacher.
That's right.
And so I did go into the education field where I taught for 17 years. Then I switched into administration in my 18th year. And I worked at most schools, and many of schools on this side of the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started at Harkins, and then I went to Millerton, Blackville, back to Harkins. Then I started my admin career at Croft,
Oh yeah.
back to Harkins Elementary, and then I was principal of the Learning Center for 10 years,
Right.
the
Yeah.
alternate site.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember
and
that.
then my last 4 years, I went to district office
That's right.
where I worked mostly with new teachers, and I also looked after all of the professional development training for the district.
You have one heck of a connection to people. Can you imagine the students and
I'm
the
busy.
staff that you
Oh,
have
yeah.
collaborated with over the years,
Absolutely.
and other, you know, administrators and educators? It's amazing.
I feel really blessed to have had all those people come through my life and me be through their life.
Yeah.
And
And
them
I
to
still
you.
see them every day.
No,
you know,
yeah,
everywhere I
incredible.
go.
Yeah.
So it's
I was
lovely.
laughing with Mom the other day, and Helena, you'd remember a time when this was true, but Mom had quit her job out west and had taken the train home, and she arrived and she phoned home, and her mother said, you need to find a job before you get to the house.
Oh.
And so Mom was like, okay. And so she walked down to Harkins at the time, and she said, I need a job. And they said, okay, and they hired her on the spot.
My
Those were the
land.
days, my friend.
Well, you know, my mother started at 16 years of age.
Yeah.
She graduated at 16, and
Yeah.
she was teaching the same year.
Oh my
I
goodness.
think Mom at
Before
17.
they even went to normal school.
Yes.
They started in the little
Incredible, eh?
schools in the country.
Yeah.
Mom too.
And then
17.
off to normal school.
Yeah,
And then
incredible.
come back.
eh?
Amazing.
It is
Incredible.
incredible, for sure.
Wow.
Yes.
So what inspired you though? So you talked a little bit about the fact that, you know, you were teaching for 17 years and then you moved into administration. What sparked that in you?
Well, that came back to the whole question of how I could affect change within the school system and how I could help others. And so I was teaching at Harkins Junior High at the time. And I realized then when I saw, like I looked after different things in the school in part of the Inviting Schools initiative and whatnot. And I just wanted to be able to do more. And I knew the only way I could do that is if I was an administrator. So
Right.
I went back and did my master's degree.
Good for you.
And then come back and went into administration at that time. And I just was so thrilled that I was able to do that, you know, and because you do have more control in terms of when you're leading a team and making some very important decisions in regards to change to benefit all students of the school,
Yeah.
to make sure they're all happy and safe and getting the best education possible.
Oh, I know you would oversee that.
I know.
And so, although you've officially retired, you continue on in education, but you took that decision, we were talking about decision-making process, and decided to go abroad. So
I
tell
did.
us that and how that
How
unfolded.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think I kind of knew a couple of years before I retired that I still wanted to do something in the education field, and I knew of other people traveling and doing different things in education in other countries. And I was aware, and I don't know if you're familiar with the organization, Education Atlantic. It's an arm of the government, the provincial government, and everybody would be familiar basically with a lot of the students coming into our
Yes.
district
Yeah.
from other countries. So at one point the decision was made, well, how about we go to schools in other countries and help them with the curriculum, because these schools have adopted our curriculum from the province of New Brunswick.
Isn't
So
that
I-
incredible?
Yes,
though?
it
It
You know, like
really is.
That's
it
amazing.
really is. We have probably 25 schools around the world now that we're working with.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Brazil we have 5 alone in Brazil.
Wow.
So in 2011, when I finished, the only opportunity in administration at the time was in Bangladesh.
Oh.
Never been.
So packed my bags. Everybody thought I was crazy. I said, no, I need to do this.
You knew
And
that you knew that it was something you had to
did.
do.
And it was a new school. I was opening a new school. It hadn't even been finished built yet.
gosh,
So
Oh my goodness.
I went and I oversaw the completion of the building. I hired the staff. I found all the apartments for the staff, furnished
Wow.
the apartments, and then did the training with the teachers as they arrived. I met them.
Quite a task.
It was a wonderful experience. It was cut short, unfortunately, and very sadly. My stepson was in an accident the third month I was there, and he passed away. So I came back to Canada and stayed then until 2016, when another opportunity came up, and I was ready then to go, and
Yes.
Billy was good
Yeah.
with me going, and I started a career in Brazil.
Just
Yeah.
that word.
I know.
You know.
Yes,
Well,
it's
such
a wonderful.
a rich, culturally, like a culturally rich country. Like there's,
It is truly.
So I haven't been, and it's definitely on the list of places I would love to
Oh my
visit because
gosh, let's go.
just seems so vibrant and
Oh,
and,
the oak, the water, and the rainforest,
Everything.
and everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
The country it truly is an amazing country. The culture, the people, the way they look at family dynamics is incredible. You can walk through a shopping mall and you'll see a boy that's 17 holding his mother's hands as they walk.
Match.
Mealtime is very important. They share all their meals together. So the culture is absolutely beautiful. The people are so vibrant. The lifestyle is vibrant. They're out all the time.
You're
Yeah.
vibrant. You'd fit right in.
I absolutely love it. I love
Yeah.
the lifestyle.
Yes.
The food is delicious.
Oh, that's a perk.
And of course, the country itself is absolutely beautiful.
I
It's
know. I
stunning,
hear.
stunning,
But
stunning.
when you think about, so when we, like, what an experience though to be working in education in a different country. Like how talk to us a little bit about that. Like even fitting into, I know that they're using the New Brunswick curriculum, but like fitting that into the cultural differences that you must face as well as you try and lead a school in that way. Talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Probably, well, when I first arrived in Brazil, I didn't have the language. So actually, it was only the week before that I realized it was actually Portuguese and not Spanish.
Right.
It's the only Portuguese country in South America that speaks Portuguese.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I arrived, and not that I could speak any Spanish, but I arrived and I quickly realized I had to learn to be able to get around and be able to do things on my own. The students all spoke English, and the staff that I worked with spoke English, so that was not a problem.
That would be really helpful.
My first school was, and I worked there for 4.5 years. There were 4,500 students in that school, K to 12.
Wow.
The Canadian high school program, we had 25 students, and we had 2 teachers and myself.
Okay.
And they followed the high school curriculum that we have here in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it's truly amazing, the love of education by the young people in Brazil. It's so important to them, and they do not take it for granted. They work hard. They start school at 7 in the morning in some schools. They're in their Portuguese classes until about 1:20, take 40 minutes for a break. Then they came with us for 3 hours after that.
Wow.
That's a
So
dedicated-
they would finish at 6 o'clock in the evening. And they would do that for 3 years to get their high. So when they graduated, they had a New Brunswick high school diploma and their own high school diploma.
Incredible.
That's a
It was.
long day.
But very
It is.
dedicated, right? They're
Very, very dedicated. And
I love it.
because of the cost, I mean, they don't waste
Right.
any time. They're there to learn, and they just are like sponges. Just want to soak up everything that they can, and are so appreciative that we're there for the education.
Now,
Yes.
would they have such things as we have here, as extracurricular activities such as music and
Yes.
drama and things like that? They do
They have
have lots
drama,
of
ballet.
school teams.
Big ballet is a big thing at the school.
Okay.
They have their soccer teams, basketball teams, dance. Besides the ballet, they have dance.
I suppose soccer is quite
Yes,
big.
it is everywhere. I
Yep.
mean, the neighborhoods are so lively when there's a game on. Everybody's on their balconies, and you hear them cheering. When you're walking down the street, it's all you hear is,
Yep.
and there's fireworks, and yeah. So no, athletics and extracurricular are a big part of their program.
So
Yes.
what would you say then? You seem to fit in and adapt very easily, but what would you have said aside from language was the most challenging thing for you when you left North America to make a whole new life in that location? For how many years have you been there in Brazil?
7.
7. So
Yes.
it's all new, and like you said, you did all that groundwork and got everything up and running, and you felt comfortable. But what were some of the challenges aside from the speaking language?
The in terms of the school itself and the education, I really had no challenges. It was a wonderful transition from here to there. I mean, because of the work ethic of the staff, I had 2 fabulous teachers.
Great.
And because of the work ethic of the students. And I had full support of the administration team there. And I actually, I mean, we did a lot of, I did some consulting with them on how to grow the program and make some changes to, you know, just beef it up a little bit. It was a wonderful experience, but unfortunately, with COVID, that program closed.
Right.
Yes, so then I ended up going to Niterói, which is across the bay from Rio de Janeiro.
Oh.
And this is a different type of program because the students there are English from day one. From the time they enter the school, they're learning English.
Oh, wow.
Their first 2 years are full English.
Oh.
And then they cut back to 50-50, something very similar to our immersion program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But socially, so you're a social person like Veronique and I. Did you have, like, you have to find a place to live, you have to find friends? Did it
Everything
come-
was looked after. I guess that's why I didn't have an answer for that.
Right.
I had an apartment across from the school. Everything was covered.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Great healthcare system that I had.
Nice. Very
I've had
nice.
to use the hospital there a couple of times, and I mean, you're just treated like a VIP.
Yeah.
Good.
My neighborhood, everything I needed was there. Beside me was a grocery store, just fruits, vegetables, your basics, some meats and things, but beautiful. My dentist was 3 doors down. I had my teeth done while I was there because it's like a third of the price as here.
Yeah.
And there was
Friends.
a doctor at the school. My friends I met very quickly.
Okay.
I was 3 blocks from the beach, and on the beach in my first city, in Boa Viagem, is a very famous beach. You don't really swim there because of sharks, but the beach
yes, okay.
itself is beautiful.
Yeah.
And every 100 yards or so, there's a kiosk, which is like a little shanty where you go and you have your cold Heineken or Corona or whatever. And so I met my friends there,
There.
and some friends that spoke English, and
And little formed a network.
yes, we formed a network.
I
And I'm
love
still
it.
friends with them today. I'll
course.
visit them when I go back.
And then you come,
Yes.
you come back, you come home for a few
Yeah,
months.
so when I was, my first 4.5 years, I'd be home 2 months in the summer and 2 months in the winter. But now I'm consulting more than, it's a part-time position. So when I go in October, I'll be working for 5 weeks, then I'm going to travel for 3.
How nice.
And then I'll come back. Yeah. And then I work part-time at home through meetings, and I do some
Of course, online
PD
now,
online, and
Great.
yes, and
Of course.
the
Wow.
teachers are wonderful.
Yeah.
a
They
positive
love to learn.
experience. Sounds very
listen,
positive.
it's so, you don't feel like it's just, it's truly has been an incredible experience for me.
I love it.
Yes.
So in our last couple of minutes, what really do you want to tell our viewers out there about, one, exploring new cultures and also these programs?
I remember when I started out teaching, when I came back home, I said, I'm only going to teach here for a year, then I want to travel.
Yeah.
But of course you get comfortable, and you have that paycheck coming in, and you have a car payment, and you've already had an apartment, and so you get a little bit comfortable. So there's on two ends of the spectrum, for the new teachers and for the retired teachers. Just such wonderful opportunities if you do want to venture out in the world and do something like this.
Get some different experience.
Yes,
You encourage
exactly. And because you're tied with the New Brunswick government, there's a sense of security with that as well.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with the curriculum. You're using the basically all of your skills that you've honed through your university courses. You're going to use them in the same way in that country because it's New Brunswick curriculum.
Right.
Well, that's encouraging for people listening.
Exactly, and the pedagogy,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So for retared teachers, if you're looking for an adventure, and it's hard to get a position now because the word's out.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but you can go online with AEI,
Okay.
Atlantic Education International, and you can go in and look in the various countries to see where there's positions. So we have Brazil, St. Lucia, Guatemala. There's a school in India. We have 5, I think, in
We're
Thailand.
we're out of time now, but I
And
need to
11
hear
in
more.
11 in China.
Amazing.
Thank you to Helena for joining us today, but don't go too far. We still have a wonderful segment coming up. We'll see you right after the break.
Thank you very much. It was a lovely one.
Yeah.
Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, joined, of course, by my amazing co-host, Judy Loge.
Oh, it can only be as amazing as I can possibly muster up on a Monday.
I know.
But I'm happy to be here always.
Yes, and we're happy to be back together. We just had a wonderful chat with Helena Way and her adventures as she helps the education system in Brazil.
Amazing.
And works in that system. But now we have another new guest, and I'm so excited.
Nice.
I'm so excited. So we're going to welcome Lily Babineau-Verge, who is the owner of Comic Alley.
Hi.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
That's a really cool thing to own.
know.
I wouldn't have thought of, doing that in my lifetime. I don't know if I'm that creative, but you are.
I've always been really creative.
Yeah.
And it just felt right to me.
It was just
Yeah.
the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So your business is right on the front street in the historic Chatham Business District,
Yeah.
and we love that. But for all the viewers out there, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a Miramichi girl through and through. I spent some years away living in Moncton, and really I found my way back home pretty quickly, but all my family lives here. I'm the oldest of 4.
Oh my goodness.
We're kind of there's me, my brother, and then I've got 2 sisters that are actually 15 and 16 years younger than me.
And I know one of them is Amber.
You know Amber, yeah.
Yeah, and I know her mom.
Yes,
Beautiful
yeah.
family.
And I know your mom
Special.
and dad.
Very
Or, your
good.
dad, actually, yeah.
We're a very tight-knit family. We
Yeah.
do a lot of stuff,
Beautiful.
Sunday suppers, game nights. We go on vacation together.
That's so nice.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I think I promote that to anyone listening, to get the family together and
I
spend that
know.
quality
You know,
time.
it's so important.
Makes a difference.
You
It
never
is.
know what time you have with your family,
Nope.
and you really need to take that and cherish
Absolutely.
It's so true. So what inspired you to open up the comic book shop? Where
Oh
did
my
that
gosh.
start from?
it. You know, pretty near my whole life, I thought I wanted to open some kind of store, some kind of boutique, something. I've always been really good at retail, and I had done a lot of event planning, and when I was in Moncton, I did conventions and stuff down there, and I wanted to do that here, which I did right before COVID hit and shut everything down. And then,
Yeah.
and then I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I need to do something to fill my time. I need to do something related to this because I was so passionate about it. And so I said to my husband, and I said, listen, I think I'm gonna do this. And a
And
lot
was
of,
he like, oh, really? Are you sure?
No, he was super supportive.
Good.
He's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's look into it right now. And when I told the rest of my family, some of them thought I was kidding.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm really gonna do this. And then when I did, they're like, oh, you were serious.
Like
Right.
our quote, you didn't get flattened out in the road. You
weren't the squirrel under the-
You weren't the
under the
squirrel.
I was not gonna be the squirrel.
You were decisive and you stuck to it. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And you recently expanded though, because you were in one space and then you moved just a little further down
Oh,
the
gosh.
road and expanded your
Yeah,
your
we
store.
started in the littlest cubby hole of an area, and it was just we got big quick.
Good.
Quick.
But you're obviously you are like my brother Bruce. He just loved comics. Were you like the girl that sat in the corner and looking through comic book after comic book growing
You
up?
know, not really.
Oh.
But I was into all the different kinds of fandom stuff, like Harry Potter and Supernatural is my go-to for everything, like all that
Okay, yeah.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before I even did any of this, any of the event organizing, I was a ghostwriter.
A what?
And-
Ghostwriter. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I did a lot of ghostwriting for about 10 years, and getting into the creative aspect of it, I taught myself how to do graphic design, which I'm actually pretty good at. We do some of that at the store, by the way.
Talented girl.
I heard you talking about invitations. I designed those.
Very nice.
And greeting cards, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, that's a good thing to know.
I know.
Yeah.
So I would give you my idea as to who it's for, and then you would come up with the nice phrases. And that's
Yeah.
nice to know. Everybody
Yeah,
watching.
I know, eh? So I know nothing about the comic world. I will admit to
No,
that.
nor I.
And I'm always fascinated by it. And of course, I think probably a lot of people like me who don't know anything about the comic world learned a little bit about it on the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But how do you keep up with the latest trends? Like, talk to us about the industry and like how do you stock a store like yours?
You know, when we started, it was a learning curve because I didn't know any of these things, and I was like, okay, well, I know that I love the stories, I know that I love this, and but the first thing we did was we talked to the customers.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, what would you like to see us bring in? What would you like to see us have? And that is what got us our start. But then as we grew and we got our distributors and we got all the stuff, we started getting newsletters from the different publishing companies, and that tells us what's coming out, when it's coming out. We learned about the Diamond Comics Previews catalog, which shows you for the next couple of months what's coming out. But there's also, you know, social media is so huge for this stuff.
Yeah.
And you look and you find out what's coming out, and it's so easy. Our distributors send us top 50, what was it we got the other day? Top 50 best-selling board games.
Oh.
So we pick the top 5 and we get a couple of each and we see how they go. But I mean, there's so many things. There's podcasts, there's like websites that do all kinds of comic reviews, and
Cool.
and I think the biggest thing is if there's a comic book that is about to be made into a movie or
Right.
a TV show on Netflix,
Right.
you want to grab that up,
Right.
because those comics are probably going to skyrocket in value.
Amazing, yeah.
So
There might be a Barbie comic coming out.
I know.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the buzz and hype about that.
you know what? There's already a Barbie comic.
There is. And did it come out just before the big movie?
No, it's been out for quite some time. We
Oh,
had
I've never
we had
seen it.
3 of them at the store. They were a rare find in a collection we bought.
Yeah.
And
Neat.
no, they were really cool.
So they're valuable.
They were,
They're
yeah.
very valuable.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You get some cool stuff. And I'm really interested about the MirCon festival that you did back in the spring, because you organized that, and I don't know anything about that, but I heard it was very successful. Talk to us.
Before you start talking about
Oh.
so I went.
Oh,
I went to it and I was blown away
I was probably
by how
away.
cool it was. Like I went in and you're going to tell all about it, and it's not my thing, not at all. But I walked in there and I saw so many, young people, and there was people from all over Atlantic Canada, and they had traveled to this, and it was like, this is awesome. Like it
So
was just
unique.
it was so unique and so interesting, and I loved seeing it here because it's not something you would typically associate with the Miramichi, and of course we are the festival capital of the world.
Yeah.
But I thought it was incredible because I knew nothing about it, and it was done with such passion and such excitement, and on such a scale that I went, wow.
I think that was the way. So tell
Yeah.
us how you brought that to life.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of a long story, and I don't know if we have all the
Well,
time.
just
but
kind of make a long story short. You had the idea up here one day.
I had done a couple of them in Moncton.
Okay.
And when we decided that it was time to buy a house, my husband and I, for our children, we decided to move back home here. Now, he's not from here, so he's not used to the small town stuff.
Right.
Ah.
Well, I was like, I still want to do my convention and stuff. And I was like, Miramichi might be a good idea to do this. Like, I might be able to get a lot of support here because it does bring in so
Yeah.
many people from away.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to do something for my community, the place I was born and raised, that would really showcase the best of us.
Beautiful.
And so then I was like, I'm going to do this, and we're going to see how it goes. And I was blown away by the turnout. I was blown away by the support.
Yeah.
It was
It was at the
just-
Eco Center.
It was, yeah.
And was there about 1,500 people that came?
I believe there was probably just under 2,000.
I was in Montreal, so I missed this phenomenal event,
Yeah.
but almost 2,000 people?
You know, we did an exit survey for everybody
Yeah,
that came,
yeah.
and 76% of the people were from away.
How did you manage all that with the organization part? You'd have
There
to
were
have
different
security.
booths and
Oh.
and participants and
And
shows
security
everything.
and people showing you where to go, and you have to man it.
Yeah.
So that would have been a big, huge undertaking just to get the
That-
manpower.
You know what? We actually went to the MBCC, the Policing and Corrections course,
Okay.
and we got some volunteers there.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot of work.
course, yeah.
But you know what? I had a lot of outside help with the promoting and getting everything together. Like Kim Harris,
Yeah.
photography.
Yeah.
She's my go-to for photo booth and everything
She's
now
excellent.
because she does all my events now.
Yeah. Well, she had some really cool stuff, and of course, Kim and I are, and you know her well too.
Yeah.
She had some really cool stuff, and so I went over and I said, like, this is incredible, and she goes, I know, and she said, I don't know anything about it either, but she said, just to see like it's cosplay, right?
Yeah.
So the different costumes that people had handmade, and like you
Like
know
the Hulk,
of their
for
favorite
example.
character,
It could
right?
be the Hulk.
And
So they
some of
were-
them I had no idea what they were, and didn't matter because I just thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
Right, and that I thought it was really unique, and that's what blew me away, because I'll be really honest, never would have imagined that something like that would attract
Yeah.
a sizable crowd here.
Very
My own
sizable.
ignorance on that one, right? But to see it and to see the excitement and the fun and the family friendly.
And like Lily said, to boost our economy, bringing all those
Absolutely.
people
Yeah.
in for gasoline and restaurants
Exactly,
and
'cause they shop,
hotels
right?
Yeah.
and everything else
Yeah.
and shopping.
Yeah.
Good on
And there
you.
was vendors as well, so like
Yeah.
there was an exhibition kind of hall.
But yeah, there was a lot of vendors, some people that were local and some from away. Yeah, it was quite the turnout. We actually had Lugaru was our
Yes,
main
yeah.
sponsor
Yeah.
for
They're
that.
so
Yeah.
you know, they're so what's the word
Yeah.
looking for?
Creative.
Well known and
Yeah.
established and
Yeah.
count and reliable.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
We are doing it again.
So what's next? And I know this I know what's next, but what's
I
next?
don't.
This weekend we are hosting the actually second annual Miramichi Horror Festival.
Horror festival.
But it
Oh.
is
You
the
know my favorite subject.
I like it.
No.
on Friday before that, actually, like this Friday at 7 p.m. is our first ever Parade of Frights
Okay.
instead of the Parade of Lights.
Yeah.
So what
Parade
is
of
the
Frights.
actual date? What are we talking
So
about? The Friday night?
29th.
The
29th,
29th of
yeah.
September
And the
Yeah.
30th, yeah.
Yeah.
and the 30th.
Yep, and we have a lot of floats signed up for the parade, Walmart including. A lot of different people coming out from away just to walk in the parade, and we're also escorted by the Miramichi Police Department.
They're
Yeah.
so involved.
And they are, and
Yeah. Good
for
incredible,
them.
yeah, because they do it for all of the festivals and events and organizations and things like that. I mean, really huge shout out to both our fire department and
I
our
said the
police force,
same
'cause
thing.
They are so accommodating.
I know they are. So they pre-register.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be dressed in costume. It's a parade of horrors.
Yeah.
So then there could be, you don't know how many yet, do you? You're still getting them in?
There's a lot of last minute sign-ups.
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
Yeah.
And the weather's going to be good, I heard.
Yes, it's supposed to be beautiful.
I hope so.
Yeah, I heard. Nice
and then
weekend.
what's going on Saturday with
So
Horror Fest?
the Horror Fest is probably my favorite thing because I love the horror genre.
I do too.
Love it so much.
Yes.
So
And see, I'm
like,
terrified and can't.
so we have a bunch of things happening. The vendor hall being one of them, where all the vendors are selling different things based around
And
the
where's
horror.
that going to be?
Golden Hawk Rec Center.
Oh,
Good
okay.
Yeah.
location, right?
Yeah. So we're doing some movie showings for all ages. So there's going to be some adult horror movies for the adults, but there's also like like kids ones. Like we're showing Halloween Town, which is one of my personal favorites
Yeah.
from when I was a kid.
Yep.
In addition to that, we have our very own little haunted museum where there's some antiques that were actually graciously donated by Open Door Antiques down in Kennard.
Oh, yes.
They gave us some really cool stuff, and I was able to figure out some different backgrounds behind items similar.
So creative. Look at how you've grown.
I know.
From your little idea to open up something, look how you've evolved.
I know. I find it fascinating, and again, it is something that is beloved by a large, segment of our population that we don't think of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it is a thing here, and so I love the fact that you've been able to kind of pull that together
It's
and
different.
feature it.
Yeah.
Unique.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we have our haunted house, or it's not a haunted house, it's a haunted tunnel
Okay.
where in order to get to the vendor hall, you go through the tunnel. You don't have to. So if you're
Yeah.
scared, you can go around it.
Listen, I'm a big chicken. I admit, I admit it freely. Now, I'm okay with like some haunted, things, but I cannot watch thrillers or
things
horror
coming
movies
through
or
in the hallway.
like psychological thing. I can't do it.
But you know what? The Haunted Tunnel, we partnered up with the Miramichi SPCA.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
they are putting our tunnel together for us
Yep.
and manning it. And in return, we are actually donating $5 from every ticket sale to them.
What a wonderful way to support a local
Oh my gosh,
organization.
I'm just
Yeah.
really feeling good at this moment.
I know, right? It's amazing and so unique and again bringing people to the region.
Yeah, but the Miramichi SPCA is one that we got one of our cats there. And like I say, he chose us because when we opened the cage, he walked right onto my husband's chest. And I'm like, all right, well, he's ours now.
Obviously.
He's clearly
Isn't
ours
it
now.
grand when they can come to that home and they get all
Yeah.
that love that they deserve? Because I'm a huge animal lover too.
I know. So, do you need volunteers or anything for this event?
You know what? There's never enough volunteers.
Okay.
Because there's always something that we either forget to think of
Yeah.
or we need something done, tearing up, setting down, all that stuff. Volunteers are really the heart of this kind of event
Yeah.
because I could not possibly do it all myself.
Where do they reach you for the viewers listening that you need help for? What contact source?
You could really just message either of our Facebook pages, Comic Alley or
Alley.
Maricon Festival Association.
Okay.
Messaging either of those, you're going to get directly to me anyway.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Comic Alley.
I know, I love it. I love
Become
it.
a lot,
Yeah.
much more than an alley now.
I know,
It's
yeah.
I
cats
know.
everywhere in the
I
city.
thought I was going to have to change my name, but I guess not.
That's cool. Name.
I can't wait to. I will stop in this weekend, even though I'm terrified. I can't wait to see it all. I love what you're doing, and I think it's so creative. Not my thing, but just love the fact that you've brought it here. Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
amazing. So, you know what? We've had such a great show. Like it's hard to believe sometimes when it goes by that fast, right? But
Yeah.
I really appreciate both of our guests that were on and
Passionate. We love guests like you and Helena that really have that heart and soul for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Her as an educator, you could tell she was just so involved with making things better for students out there all over the world. And you bringing people together in a whole different way,
Yeah.
but doing something uniquely special.
So thank you to everybody out there as well. We hope you have a great weekend, a great week, and then a great weekend. Don't forget on Saturday we are recognizing Truth and Reconciliation Day. There is an event somewhere near you, so please take the time to go out and spend some time with your community members of our First Nations family. And have a great week, everybody. We will see you in a couple of weeks because we have some long weekends coming up. So take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.